Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dependent from where you're joining from today. It's a beautiful day to create awareness, and that is exactly what we're going to do today. And our topic for today is energy leadership. I'm going to take you through two different perspectives that you can take when it comes to energy management in general. And then, of course, how you can take the lead over how you are actually energy percipient in during the day, how you are managing your energy, and also how your energy might affect the people around you. So let's take a closer look at this. When it comes to energy, first and foremost, we're going to take a look into brain and energy science as such. How does energy actually impact the way how we're showing up every day? How can we have an influence over the energy that we're having and experiencing every day and every moment? Why does that actually matter for senior leaders, and how can it influence the way how you show up as a senior leader? Then we're going to take a look into something that you might not have heard about just yet, which is called the 7 levels of energy. We will then take a look into how you show up under stress, and I'll tell you a little bit about the ELI assessment. We will wait until then. I'm not going to say anything more about this just now. And then, of course, as usual, the last 15 minutes are all yours, and I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to put anything into the chat during the entire webinar whenever you have something that comes to your mind. As usual, I also have a few reflection questions for you. If you want to, you can also share your answers with everyone here in the audience. And if you don't mind, I might pick up your answers and just incorporate them into the flow of today's webinar. For those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Sabine Caronaniti. I was born and raised in Germany. I started my career in tech startups, building, creating, improving HR processes for different tech startups over the years. And this took me to working directly with the founders and C-levels of those organizations. And very early on, I realized how important it is to create awareness around the way how we show up every day, how that impacts our communication, and how that impacts our behavior towards ourselves, but also towards others. And this is what directly took me into coaching. I studied coaching, namely business coaching and change management, in 2016, so 10 years ago by now. Since then, I have been coaching and training teams and individuals. And for the last 5 years, since I moved to Dubai, my focus is on the GCC, mostly senior leaders in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. And there is one main thing that I realized, which is that the challenge for senior leaders are the same, regardless of the industry, regardless of the size of the organization. Ultimately, it all boils down to how can I become more self-aware and use that as a competitive advantage for how I show up and for how I shape my career. You might be wondering why I chose energy management as a topic for today, since it doesn't seem to be directly related to the last two topics that we had in our webinars. However, energy management is truly at the core of everything that we do all day. Let's begin by thinking of the amount of decisions that we have to take every single day. If you had to take a wild guess, and please feel free to put this into the chat, what do you think? How many decisions are we taking on average every single day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we close our eyes and fall asleep? Ultimately, every single day, we are taking 35,000 decisions on average. That's a huge number. Now you might say, I can't even come up with 35,000 decisions I would have to take every day, for a good reason, because most of the decisions we are taking every single day are in fact subconscious. They are, for example, around us deciding to now get up and leave the bed. It's about deciding, what am I going to wear? It's about deciding to go into the bathroom, to brush our teeth, how to brush our teeth, and so on and so forth. So most of the things that we do every day are already automated. We don't have to think about them anymore. Or we don't have to think about them much. So, for example, when we have to pick out our clothes for the day, most likely we just have a few options and it's quite easy to pick one. Why I'm telling you about this in the context of energy management is because every single decision that we're taking is impacting the energy that we have available for the rest of the day. Small decisions that we're taking are causing us to show a specific behavior. This behavior, in turn, has an impact of how we are utilizing our energy per day. It also impacts how we might, for example, gain energy as well. So we can take decisions that allow us to refuel, to gain new energy, and to make it easier for us. All of this is directly connected to the subconscious decisions that we're making, the habits that we're having. So what we want to focus on today really is to understand, how am I using my energy? Am I using it in a beneficial way? What are the things that I can do to become more aware of how I'm using my energy? And how can I start to make changes that benefit me and my energy balance? And of course, we're going to take a look at, how does my energy management impact the people around me, especially in leadership? So let's take a look into our brains first. When you consider that our brain has an average weight of around 1.5 kilos or 3 pounds, it's remarkable that this 1.5 kilos consumes 20% of the energy that we have available all day. So just consider for a moment, what does that mean? 20%. It's a fifth of the total energy we have available. And most of this energy, we don't even notice going out, not being refueled. Because many of us, and that included me until not long ago, assumed that our brains just keep on working. They just keep on running. It's like a perpetuum mobile, right? It doesn't have an end point, not during the normal day. We just take it for granted that we can keep on thinking, that we can keep on making decisions. But of course, after some time, we are starting to realize, actually, it's not that easy for me to take decisions at every single stage of the day. You might probably also remember a few instances where you were just thinking, oh God, no, I don't want to take another decision. Just take the decision for me. For example, being on the way back home after work and your partner calls and says, what's for dinner tonight? And in that moment, you're realizing you actually really don't mind. As long as you get something to eat, that's fine, but your partner can choose whatever that would be. This is a decision in itself, right? You are making the decision that you don't want to be involved in this decision-making process. This is also called decision fatigue. So not only does our willingness to take another decision dramatically decrease throughout the day, but it also has an impact on the actual quality of the decisions that we're making. You might recall a few moments where you had to take or make a very, very complex decision, and you weren't able to collect all the facts. You weren't able to logically connect all of the different dots. That's because your brain didn't have enough energy in that moment to facilitate that thought process. So what is also very interesting is now when we're considering, okay, I don't have the same level of energy available at all times every single day, then what is it that drains my energy? And those are also partially moments you might be very well aware of. It might also be moments where you are be surprised knowing, oh, okay, yeah, of course, no, that makes a lot of sense. So consider, for example, that you have an unresolved conflict with anyone in your personal life, with anyone at work. These unresolved conflicts don't just take up a lot of your energy when you are communicating with that particular person, because you are instantly, for example, in defense mode or in offense mode. That depends on you and your character and the situation. But it is something that demands more energy of us because it's not the normal, relaxed kind of communication. And then also, when you consider you have an unresolved conflict, outside of that actual communication with that person, you will be thinking about that. That keeps your brain occupied. You will be probably ruminating about that conflict, not understanding where does it come from? How can I resolve it? What did I do wrong? So all of these thought processes deplete your brain energy. Other examples could be, for example, context switching. As I used to work in HR, I had to switch context probably a billion times during the day. I was in my office, people started to come in, they asked me something. So I had to get away from the task I was working at. I had to pay attention to the person, solve their problem, or at least give them an answer, return to my task until the next person came in. So I was constantly switching the context. And this is exhausting for our brain as well, because our brain wants to focus on one thing, and then when it gets distracted, obviously it has to refocus, and this demands more energy than staying on one task in a focused way. Emotional suppression is another thing that really drains our energy. So for example, if you are angry about something, but you are not acknowledging that anger or not letting go of that anger, that consumes a lot of your energy because you are fighting an emotion that wants to be let out. Open loops, something that you haven't finished, for example, something that keeps coming back to you, but it's not something that you want to keep yourself busy with, is another thing that really drains our energy. Prolonged uncertainty, especially now where we're at in this region in particular, not knowing about what is going to happen next. Are Iran and US going to solve the conflict anytime soon? Are we going to have peace? Are things going to stabilize? That is something that, again, keeps our brain busy and is exhausting our energy. So what's interesting, of course, is then on the other hand, what restores energy then? If there are so many things during the day that deplete our energy, what can I do to get energy back? So those are things, of course, that take the, let's call it, pressure of our brains. It could be, and you've probably heard about this many times, a meditation, breath work, something that allows our brain to take an active break. What is also giving energy back to our brains is fresh air, going outside for a walk. Well, I know that right now with summer returning to the UAE, it's not that easy anymore to go out at any point during the day and get fresh air. But try to bring in one or the other window, maybe in the earlier morning, maybe in the evening, where you can spend time in fresh air, because this is extremely important for our brain to get fresh oxygen, especially considering that we spend most of the day in AC. So in climatized rooms, there is no fresh air. That is also exhausting for our brain. It needs fresh air to operate properly. You can also exercise. So, for example, for me personally, a quick yoga session is something that I absolutely love doing to just gain back some energy. Of course, those are not all out sessions. It's more about bringing the body into movement, bringing the focus into being physically active rather than cognitively active. This is the big differentiator here. Needless to say, good quality sleep in the proper duration is something our brain absolutely needs. Don't underestimate sleep, please. There is a lot of science out there now that really shows us that our brain needs sleep to, first of all, digest everything that happened during the day. Sleep is when our brain can sort everything we've been going through, and our brain will decide, okay, this is something I don't need to remember. We'll forget about this. This is something that's more important. Okay, we'll store it in short-term memory for now and see if we need it again, and so on and so forth. If you are still cognitively too busy before you go to bed, and you are basically forcing your brain to keep remembering things until the next morning, your brain doesn't have the chance to do its actual job it's supposed to do during sleep, and you will wake up the next morning already exhausted, or at least not as refreshed as you'd like to be. So one tip here is, for example, to just do what is called a brain dump. Take a notebook, take a pen, write down everything that comes to your mind right before you go to bed. Doesn't have to be structured. Just write it down, let it out. And then your brain knows, okay, I don't have to hold on to these thoughts. I can now do my actual job and sort everything that happened during today. So now back to you. When during your day do you make your most important decisions? And is that intentional or accidental? Think about that for a moment. When do you make your most important decisions? And do you choose that moment? Or is it accidental? The reason why I'm asking, of course, is when we know that we have more brain energy available, especially in the mornings, it would be ideal for you to make important decisions in the morning. When your cognitive ability is still very high, when your brains are fresh, and when you have a really good chance to consider, in fact, everything you need to consider to make this complex decision. So let's assume you have a meeting the day prior in the late afternoon and you are being asked to make an important decision. And you are already noticing for yourself, I am not sure if I have that energy right now. I am not sure if I am clear enough in my head to take that decision. If you can, postpone that to the next morning. Postpone it to a time when you know, okay, now I'm fresh, now I can do this. Hamad, thank you. You were just bringing in mostly accidental, few intentional. Yeah. And that is, in all honesty, the actual norm. Of course, for one, it's because we can't always schedule our decisions. Sometimes we are being asked to take a decision in the moment, but really try to take a little bit of control over this and ask if this decision can wait until a time when you know you will have more focus, where you will be more clear-headed, for example. This will help not only you, but it will help everyone who will be involved with that decision, because everyone will benefit from a better decision that you'll be able to make when you have the clarity that you need. Now, this was a first look into our brains. This is potentially what you are all familiar with. Now, there is a different perspective on energy that I am personally very excited about, and I'm very happy to share that with you today. You might have heard about the differentiation of energy into anabolic and catabolic. Now, anabolic is what you can also call the good energy. Anabolic is constructive. Anabolic is fueling you. Anabolic is an energy that makes you feel like you can expand into the moment, that you can fully experience it. So, for example, when we are calm, it's anabolic energy. When we're happy, it's anabolic energy. When we are excited about something, looking forward to something, that's anabolic energy. So anabolic energy moves you towards positive long-term results, for example. This is where the good motivation comes from. When you are working with alignment to your purpose, for example, then you are feeling a motivation that gives you anabolic energy. When you have anabolic energy, you are actually also more open-minded. So you are able to have a more conscious view of any situation that you're in. And that, again, allows you to find more solutions. You will be able to innovate, for example. Anabolic energy is the energy that allows us to be creative, to think outside of the box, to not just have that tunnel vision that we might experience, especially when we're stressed. Anabolic energy is the one where we feel, okay, we can really see all of the deciding factors here and we can make a decision, we can find a solution. And this is also why we say anabolic energy is the energy of the most successful leaders. Neurologically, anabolic energy is the energy that activates recovery and lets you think very clearly. While on the other hand, then of course, we have catabolic energy. And you can see by the choice of red, catabolic energy is the energy that is not that positive. Anabolic energy is the one that is draining for us. It's the one that makes us resist. And it's also the energy of conflict. So for example, when we think of catabolic energy, this is what we are experiencing when we are frustrated. This is the energy we're experiencing when we're angry. This is when we can't find a solution. for example. It's also energy that we are oftentimes experiencing when, for example, we get triggered. So everything might be fine in one moment, then we're getting triggered, and then catabolic energy is kicking in and lets us change our perspective of the situation. And then we might go into, for example, fight or flight mode, or freeze as well. All of those are catabolic energies. So you can imagine that catabolic energy, unlike anabolic energy, is very draining. Having these emotions such as anger, frustration, feeling stuck, all of that is very exhausting for us. And as you can also imagine, when you, especially as a senior leader, you might be frustrated or you might be angry, people around you are noticing this as well. So catabolic energy is also an energy that people around you experience as very contagious. Anabolic energy, of course, can also be very contagious. However, people need to be open to that. Catabolic energy is more easily contagious. Of course, when somebody comes into the room, let's assume it's a team meeting. There is a fantastic discussion going on. People are all very involved in the discussion. They're having great ideas. They are enjoying being with one another in this team meeting. And then somebody comes in and starts to shout. Let it be the line manager, who then says, "What is going on here? You are already running over time. Everybody needs to be back in the office right now." That's catabolic energy. And you can imagine that everyone in the meeting room is most likely going to let go of their happiness, is not going to enjoy the moment anymore, but catabolic energy will now take over for everyone who's there. So these are the two energies that I would just like you to sit with for a second and maybe ask yourselves, what is the energy that you usually have more of? Is it anabolic energy, the happy kind, the kind that lets you be creative, the kind that lets you be calm? Or is it the catabolic energy, where you spend time being angry, frustrated, stuck? You're most likely going to realize that it's a really good mix of both. All of us, every single day, go through these different energies. One moment we might have anabolic energy, the other moment we might have catabolic energy. When we take a closer look into this, you can even differentiate that a little bit more. So there are what is called 7 levels of energy. The first one is the lowest level of energy. This is purely catabolic. So this is where you might have a victim mentality. This is what it's called. Victim mentality means basically, I lose. Everyone is against me. I don't stand a chance. Nothing works. No matter how hard I try, I will never achieve what I want to achieve. Self-doubt, for example, something that many people experience, is directly related to this energy level 1. Energy level 2 is the one that drives conflict, the example that I just named. Here, the understanding is I win and you lose, meaning people who are operating from a lens of energy level 2 might be saying, I don't really care about what you're doing right now, but I need to win. I need to make sure that this goes in my favor. And you can imagine with that outlook, with that mindset, conflict is not far away. So energy level 2 is also catabolic. And energy level 3 is a mixture of anabolic and catabolic energy. So it's still mostly catabolic, but a little bit of anabolic energy is coming in here. Energy level 3 is the energy level that we experience when we take on responsibility. I win. Hopefully you win as well. It's still important that I win. I'm still fighting for myself, but I'm starting to consider the others. And I am hoping that they will win as well. This is the energy level where people get into doing. This is a very active energy level where you just want to make sure, okay, I want to win, so I'm doing everything that I can to win. I am acting immediately right now because I don't want to stand still. I don't want to get stuck. Energy level 4 is what we consider the energy level of concern. This is the energy level where I take care of others. This is where I potentially put myself last because I want to make sure that everybody else wins. It's not so much about what I need right now. I just want everybody else to be happy. Energy level 5 is reconciliation. This basically means, okay, we will all win. Let's find solutions together. Let's move forward together. This is where I'm not considering everybody else only. I'm also bringing myself into the picture, and I want this to be successful for everyone. Energy level 6 is synthesis. So here it's about we always win. So ultimately, this is the second highest energy level. It means everything is good. We will always win. No matter what happens, there is something good in everything. So there is very, very little catabolic energy in this energy level. And then ultimately in level 7, this is where you're completely non-judgmental. You are basically just being. Whether you win or not, doesn't matter. Whether anybody else wins or not, doesn't matter either. You're just experiencing life as it is. This is the energy level of total acceptance of everything that's happening around you. So when we take a closer look at these energy levels, for example, for the energy level 1, feelings that might be driving this level or that you will be experiencing when you spend time in this level is fear. You're afraid of something that could happen to you. Guilt. Whenever you feel guilty, you will experience a lot of catabolic energy. So what does that mean for our energy management? Feeling guilty is very draining, consumes a lot of our energy. Self-doubt, feeling trapped or feeling stuck. When you are in this energy level, it's very likely that you are avoiding decisions. For one, of course, because you're doubting yourself. You don't want to make the wrong decision. It might also be because you feel stuck. You don't know how to make this decision. You don't feel equipped or ready or informed enough to make this decision. You might also feel that no matter what you do, you're not in control. Everybody else might be in control. The circumstances might be in control. People around you will be in control, but not you. So when you spend a lot of time in this energy level 1, it might be that you are chronically overwhelmed. You might feel that no matter what you do, there's always so much more to do. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. You're overwhelmed. You don't know where to start. Paralysis might be another sign that you are spending a lot of time in level 1. And potentially also the inability to delegate. When I think of many of the coaching sessions that I have with senior leaders, many of them say, I wish I could delegate so that I could gain some of my time back, but I can't. And one of the main reasons why people feel that they cannot delegate is because they do not trust people around them. So now when you put that into the context of energy level 1, that makes total sense, right? You don't feel like you're in control. You are not able to delegate because the people around you don't let you. Pretty much. So when you are in energy level 2, which is, by the way, the most common energy in workplaces globally, you will feel anger, defiance. You might be thinking in the categories of black or white. It's either that or it's that. It cannot be anything else. So you can figure when you're listening to this, when you're in level 2, it's very difficult for you to find solutions because it's either black or white. There is no gray in between. So if A doesn't work and B doesn't work, then it won't work at all. So of course, then signs could be that you are blaming the culture around you. It could be that you are thinking, okay, this is not going to work for anyone. It's quite a frustrating energy level to be in as well. And when you consider it's the most common energy in workplaces globally, there is a lot of conflict in workplaces globally. In many, many organizations, there is a very high sense for competition as well. Hence the statement, I win, so you must lose. In competitions, of course, you have a winner. Competitions are usually not about finding compromise. So when you're noticing these energy levels in people around you as well, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, how can I help this person to, for example, find gray in their black and white thinking? What can I do for this person to let go of their self-doubt? How can I help them to get out of catabolic energy and to get into anabolic energy, which will help them to see clearer? Looking at energy level 3, responsibility, I win, and hopefully you too. Again, this is the first anabolic level, has some catabolic energy here in it as well. When you are in energy level 3, you will be someone who takes ownership, for example. It's easy for you to forgive because you are thinking of others as well. You want to cope and just move forward. Again, this is mostly about acting. You just want to move forward, you want to get done with things, and you want to tackle the next. You are very, very good at rationalization. You might actually become a victim to paralysis by analysis because you will be thinking about everything, potentially even overthinking. And this is the start of resilience and self-leadership. So with energy level 3, where you're starting to take responsibility, this will take you into resilience and building self-leadership. Level 4 is the concern for others, not for yourself. This is all about facilitating others to win. You have a very deep compassion, and most of the things that you do are in service to others, not in service to yourself. You want to build loyalty and psychological safety. This might all ring a bell when you think about leadership aspirations, right? When we talk about leadership, oftentimes we talk about authenticity, creating psychological safety for your teams. And we want to make sure that our team members are loyal to us. So when you are operating with these goals, you might be in energy level 4. One risk here in energy level 4 is really that you are forgetting about yourself. You give too much to others, and you might actually burn out because there is no end for you to be of service to others. You might be in a situation where people keep coming to you and ask you for favors. They might be asking you for support. They might be asking you for help. And it's so difficult for you to say no. These are typical indicators for energy level 4. Energy level 5, we keep climbing up to more and more anabolic energy, is about the perspective of all of us being in this together and winning together. You see in energy level 5 a lot of opportunities. No matter where you go, there might be an opportunity for you. Oh, this might be working out. This could be interesting. I want to start this project. I oftentimes hear this from senior leaders as well. They are very creative. They have a lot of ideas. They start multiple projects. And what's missing is the actual follow through all the way until completion. Because they are so on fire when they see a new opportunity and they get started with something. But as soon as it's not new anymore, or as soon as they come up with a new idea, they follow that new idea and they will not complete the one they started previously. People who spend a lot of time in level 5 are very calm. They have a very good, wide perspective. They can connect the dots. They can understand the context. And you can be decisive without being reactive. So you have control over the situation. You will be knowing what to do. Many of the greatest leaders that we know spend a lot of time in energy level 5. Of course, it's not a big surprise, right? When we consider that this is the energy level of opportunity as well. So now lastly, levels 6 and 7. And just to let you know up front, level 6 is quite easy to reach and for us to incorporate into our daily lives. Level 7 is mostly a level that we can touch on, that we might experience momentarily, but there is no one who lives his entire or her entire life in level 7. Now, level 6, synthesis, we always win. This is where intuition comes alive. So when you consider emotional intelligence, for example, one of our goals really also is to know ourselves so well that we trust our intuition, that we follow our intuition. In those moments in which we do that, we are in level 6. So visionaries, creative people, they spend a lot of time here in level 6. They are trusting the thoughts that are coming to them. They are trusting the emotions that are coming to them, and they're turning that into new ideas, new perspectives. Another sign of level 6 is that you feel very, very deeply connected to people around you. And this is generally the perspective you're taking in. How can you connect one thing with the other? How can you build context? People who connect people, for example, great networkers, are oftentimes spending a lot of time in level 6. They are curious about what else they can find out and learn. People who develop themselves a lot, they are oftentimes in level 6 as well. And then lastly, level 7, around non-judgment. Again, winning and losing are illusions. It doesn't really matter whether we win or lose. It doesn't have an impact on how we live our lives. So this is the highest anabolic energy, ultimately marked by complete non-judgment and simple acceptance of everything that happens to you. So this might sound a bit abstract. I'll just give you a tangible example. Let's assume, or let's not assume, but let's think back of the 28th of February when the war broke out. There was a lot happening in this region. People had complete uncertainty. Nobody knew what is going to happen next. Then schools were closed, offices were closed, people had to work from home, and nobody knew what to do next. When you are able to tap into level 7 in a situation like this, it allows you to accept the fact that you have no influence over what is going to happen next. The only influence that you have is for you to make the best out of that moment. So this element of acceptance is something that can be extremely powerful if you are able to tap into it. So now back to you. I have another reflection question for you. Which energy level do you recognize the most in yourself on, let's say, a normal Thursday, because today is Thursday? And which level shows up when you are under real pressure? Give you a moment to think about this. And I want to acknowledge at this point that it might not be that easy to recognize that instantly, which energy level you're in or usually in. And it might also be due to the fact that we are fluctuating a lot. So every single day, we are usually going through all the different energy levels. The key question is, which level do we spend the most time in? How much time do you spend in energy level 1, the level of the victim? And how does that serve you? How much time would you like to spend in level 6, synthesis, creativity, opportunity, level 5 as well? How much time would you want to spend, and how much time do you really spend in those levels? And then naturally, how can you make that transition? Spending less time in the levels 1 and 2 that are catabolic, spending more time in levels 5 and 6 that are anabolic. So you might wonder, why does this matter for you as a senior leader? So of course, what we talked about first is your energy is contagious. Research on emotional contagion shows people mirror the emotional state of those with higher status. That's interesting, no? When you consider and ask yourself as well, in how far do you, let me call it, copy the energy level of your boss when you're talking with them? And how far do you adapt your energy level to theirs? And then, of course, when you are the senior person, what's the energy that you want to give to your team? What's the energy level you want to show up in and with? And of course, your stress reaction, is it level 1? Is it level 2? Is it level 3? That impacts your leadership reputation. People will notice how you are reacting when, for example, somebody criticizes you. People will notice how you're reacting when you don't have an answer immediately when you're being asked in front of others. People will notice how you are dealing with mistakes, for example. And then ask yourself, do I want to show up like this? How do I want to show up instead? What do I want my reputation to be? As we talked about it last time in self-awareness for situational leadership as well. First of all, understand how do others perceive you in those situations. And of course, as well, if you consider culture in your organization, catabolic culture has measurable costs. Think back of where you find creativity and innovation. That's not in energy levels 1 and 2. Creativity and innovation are in levels 5 and 6. And yet, as we heard earlier, level 2 is the energy level we find in most organizations worldwide. What does that say about the ability to innovate, the ability to be creative? And what does that say about the level of happiness for employees in organizations? Catabolic energy, and that's no surprise given what we talked about earlier, is also metabolically very expensive. Of course, when we spend a lot of time in catabolic energy, that doesn't serve us very well. It has a lot of negative impact about how we are feeling, about how we are able to perform. People who are constantly stressed are also less healthy. Think about it. They don't sleep very well. They will most likely make the wrong choices in food because they are stressed and they just want to have some sort of energy and they believe they find it in, for example, fast food or sugary food. It's a downward spiral because also what you eat and how you sleep again has an impact on how you are experiencing your energy the next day. And this is what makes energy management so important for senior leaders. You have so much influence through the energy that you're in during the day. For example, one of the feedbacks that my team used to give me was that they really love my energy, also through the screen, because back then when I joined the last organization, it was still under COVID. So we had a lot of online meetings, but they said they felt my energy through the screen. They felt motivated when they talked to me. So this is another impact of energy, how you can motivate the people around you through the way how you are experiencing your own energy levels. So if you are interested in knowing more about your energy levels, how you show up during the day, how much time you spend in which of these levels, I am certified in an assessment that is called the Energy Leadership Index. That will take you about 20 minutes to fill out. And then there is a very nice 11-page long report that I can take you through. And it will show you how you show up in these 7 levels, how much time you spend in them. We can take a closer look at your stress reaction because you will see a comparison of how you show up when everything is good and you're happy, which energy levels you have then. And then compared to that, which energy are you in when you're stressed? And then, of course, we want to find out how can you shift from a particular energy level to another one? How can you change your response when you're stressed? So one last reflection for you is think of a leader who changed the energy in the room just by walking in, but in a good way, not in the way of my example earlier, in a good way. How did they do that? What did they do to change the energy in the room by walking in? And then, of course, what's interesting to know as well is what do people feel when you walk in? How do you change the energy of a room? Do you change the energy in the room? And if you don't yet, how would you like it to be changed? So lastly, because I don't want to let you go without anything tangible in your hands, apart from the invitation to take the Energy Leadership Index assessment, there are a few things that you can do. So first of all, name your energy level before you go into any meeting, or even before you start your day, before you go into the office, for example, or before you leave the office and you go home. What is your energy level? Because, of course, once you are becoming aware of that, this is where you can make a conscious change, where you can tell yourself, oh, no, I actually feel like I am more in conflict mode right now, but that won't serve me at all when I'm about to go into this meeting. I want to shift myself into a different, more beneficial energy level here, right now. Second, design your day around energy and not just time. We are all so used to having very, very tight schedules. I want to accomplish this by noon. I have 20 to-dos until that time. And then from noon until 5 p.m., I have another 6 meetings and I have 2 projects to complete. Now, this is in an ideal world. This is when we are assuming that our energy that is available and our brain's function is stable throughout the entire day. But that's not the reality. So much rather than pressuring yourself too much, try to find ways in which you can honor the energy level you're in at the moment. Try to take a little bit of pressure off yourself and say, okay, instead of doing this right now, I will actually take a quick walk, or I will take a short break. I will do just a 2-minute breathing exercise right now. Instead of answering that email now, I can answer that in 10 minutes. But I will do something for myself right now to just regain a little bit of energy. What that is that serves you well and that helps you regain energy depends on you. But it's definitely worthwhile trying out a few things. Whatever serves you best, do that, repeat that, start making a habit out of this. To continuously find times during the day in which you can just regain a little bit of energy. And please build in genuine recovery. We touched on this a little bit when it comes to your sleeping habits, when it comes to what you eat. Fueling your brain with energy is a lot more than just finding few breaks for breathing exercises. That's extremely important. But other cornerstones that are even more important is regular sleep, ideally around the same time, deep sleep as well. REM phase is very important, rapid eye movement during your sleep. That's the part where your brain really gets to digest what happened during the day. And of course, eat the right things. Your brain is benefiting from specific foods and definitely not benefiting from others. So taking a look into this and starting to build healthy habits around this is going to benefit your energy levels tremendously. Notice your stress and reaction pattern. When you take the Energy Leadership Index and you will understand what is your stress reaction pattern, this will help you on a daily basis to also understand, okay, how am I getting stressed? What are my triggers? How do I react? And how can I choose a different response instead? And then lastly, use questions. Be curious, ask questions, and invite yourself to consider different perspectives. This is how you can move yourself from a level of being stuck into a level of curiosity and open-mindedness. And it will also benefit communication with your peers, your stakeholders, your team members, of course. When you show interest in what they say, when you're curious about their opinions, that means that you are appreciating them, that you're recognizing them. So that helps you on a social and leadership level as well. All right. So I am inviting you to take the Energy Leadership Index assessment just for you to get an understanding of where you are today, where you want to be. Just as a little background information, I took the ELI myself twice with a 6-month gap, and I saw huge differences. On my second ELI that I took now in January, I did actually spend 14% of my day in level 7, which was amazing to see. I reduced my level 1 stress response, I reduced my level 2 stress response, and now my main stress response is in level 3. So you can make these differences, but you need to be aware of what you need to change to begin with. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I would love to hear your questions or comments, feedback, anything you'd like to share about today's webinar. Okay, we have no questions. I hope that means that everyone is still reflecting about what you've heard today. And I am looking forward to hearing from you about the ELI, the Energy Leadership Index. You can contact me either directly on LinkedIn, as you know very well, or you can send me an email at sabine@cm4c.co. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And for now, I wish you a fantastic day. I'll see you again in 3 weeks. We will take a break for Eid. I'll be in Sri Lanka with the family. So I will see you on the Thursday after Eid. Thank you very much for being here today. And see you soon. Thank you, Dr. Nabil. I really appreciate your comment. Oh, thank you, Sadia. Amazing to see that you're here. Thank you for coming. I'll see you tonight. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.